I read nothing but bangers in the month of July. No DNFs, no disappointments, just banger after banger after banger. So in today's video, I'm going to do a proper reading wrap up for everything that I read in July, and we're going to see if my August TBR has any chance of living up to it. Hey y'all, I'm Nala, and this is Nala's Reading Room, where we talk books, vinyls, and everything in between. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, hey friends, so glad to have you back. I'm back with another video, and we're going to start with my July reading wrap up. So I have my notes here, okay? So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes, okay? So I read 14 books in the month of July. Clap for me. Okay, so this is actually my best reading month to date, like the most books I've read in a month. And I said for August, which is actually this month, I'm going to challenge myself and see if I can beat my July version. Okay, slow down. I'm going to see if I can beat the July version of myself. Okay, so if you watch my July hopefuls video, then you know that I had 11 books on my July TBR. And I also said in that video that I didn't know if I would stick to my July TBR because I always end up just reading random books that I didn't put on my TBR. Well, I am here to let you know that that still reigns true. Okay, so out of the 11 books I had on my July TBR, I only read 2 of them. Okay, the remaining 12 were just random books that I just decided to read off of vibes. Okay, so we're going to get into the 14 books that I actually read for this month. So I started the month out strong. I started on a good note, and I think that's what I need to do for the remaining months. Like, I feel like if I start with a good book, then the month kind of just follows suit, okay? So I actually started by reading the Night Shift series by Christina C. Jones. So this series has 3 books. So the first one is Equivalent Exchange. The second is Prior Affair. And the third is Faded Memories. So the first book, Equivalent Exchange, that's actually like a full-length novel. And then Prior Affair and Faded Memories, those are novellas. I actually talked about these 3 books in one of my previous videos. And out of the 3, Prior Affair was my favorite just because of the storyline and also the plot twist that I was not expecting at all. And Prior Affair actually made me really want to like go and learn and search my family history. That's what it really forced me to do and like think about, just because the experience that I think her name was, the FMC had, her name was Haley. The experience she had going back to this town where her, I think it was her great-grandmother, where her great-grandmother used to live, and just learning about her family history and how it kind of led to her being a journalist, and just everything her great-grandmother went through, and not just her great-grandmother, but her great-great-grandmother too, and how it kind of led to, you know, Haley being who she is and the decisions that she made. So, loved Prior Affair. Okay, after those 3, I went into At the End of It All by Rayleigh. I now see why the girlies love Ray. I see why they do. After reading At the End of It All, which is my second book by Rayleigh, I understand why the girlies love her. I get it. Because take me back to Planet Ace immediately. And the fact that Ace had to go through those 2 years of like purgatory was honestly insane. It was really insane. And just everything he had to deal with at such a young age. Because I think sometimes when people read At the End of It All, you often forget that Ace is only like 22. He's only 22 years old. And he had gone through so much in like his early 20s. And like having to carry that all by himself. And like, it really, like when you read the book, you really think, sometimes you think that Ace is older than what he is just because of how mature he is and the decisions he had to make and, you know, what he had to deal with. But then when you sit back, you're like, wait, Ace was really only 22. Like he was 22 dealing with all of this. Like, I don't know if at 22, I could have dealt with everything he had to deal with and still like have a semblance of some normalcy to an extent. So definitely loved At the End of It All. Want to go back to Planet Ace. So those 4 books that I just mentioned, so the Night Shift series and At the End of It All, those were all audiobooks that I read. Okay, and then after that, I went into Taming Kane, which is the first book in the Fated Mate series by Tessa Stone. Loved, loved Taming Kane. As you know, I read my first book by Tessa Stone earlier this summer, which is Forgiving Levi, and then Taming Kane is the second book. Loved it, gave it 4 stars. I'm going to actually finish reading more of the series. There's so many books in that series, so I'm kind of just taking my time going through it. But I love Tammy and Kane's relationship and kind of their chemistry, and just the bond that they had was super beautiful. And it was definitely different from reading Forgiving Levi. Like, the experience Tammy had was not the same experience that Nia had. And I think it was good to see like a different experience of, mates and being bonded and fated together. Okay, and that was a ebook that I read. That was on my Kindle. And then next, I went into the Confessions of a Hustler's Housekeeper series. So that was actually 4 books. That is by Jacquel J. And I listened to those on audiobooks. Those were audiobooks. That series is so messy. It is so messy. So it is about Eve, who is basically a recovering alcoholic, down on her luck. She ain't got no money for real. And her cousin volunteers her to be a live-in housekeeper / nanny for one of her clients. And yeah, that's all I'm going to tell y'all. I would say go read the synopsis. It's very messy. It's very messy. She moves into the home and she ends up catching feelings for the dad, who is actually going through his own issues with his fiance. So it's very messy, y'all. There's another man into y'all. It's messy, 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 messy. If one thing Ja is going to do, she's going to write some mess. And I implore everyone who likes Jacquel J and like her writing style, I implore you to go into like her back catalog. Like, we all know and love Ja for the, Delgados, Infernos, Casellis. But I want some people to go into her back catalog, because that's where a lot of the mess is. Like, that's where the mess is, the drama is. It's there and it's great. So I definitely suggest everyone go and discover Ja's back catalog. But Confession of a Hustler's Housekeeper, that was a good series. I gave it 4 stars. I'm not going to lie, everyone pissed me off in that series at some point. Everybody did. Eves, okay, Roddy, who's the MMC, his fiance Gia, like, everybody pissed me off at some point throughout that series. But that's how you know the author wrote a good book, when their characters piss me off. Yeah, they wrote the hell out that book, okay? And then after that, I read Church Girl by Naima Simone. I actually mentioned that in my 12-hour readathon. That was one of the books that I read. That was also a cute story, gave it 4 stars. It's basically kind of a coming-of-age self-discovery story about Aaliyah, who basically runs out on her wedding, leaves her little small town. She's a preacher's kid, and she moves to Chicago with her cousin, and she starts being a nanny for Vaughn, who owns a tattoo shop. And throughout this process, she just basically discovers who she is and discovers her voice, and eventually, stands up to her parents and falls in love. So I think Church Girl is a great story. And it actually reminds me of a song. Ooh, I'm not even going to say it. I just got a video idea in my head, y'all. I'm not even going to say it. But Church Girl, I think, is a great read if you are someone who grew up in the church, or you are a PK, a preacher's kid. I definitely think it's a good read because it kind of puts a lot of things into perspective. Okay, next, I read Hostile Takeover by Christina C. Jones. As you can tell, I love me some CCJ. And Hostile Takeover was an immersive read, so I listened to the audiobook while reading the physical book. Hostile Takeover was a great book. It was a great book. It will always be F. William and what was that other kid's name? EJ? I think it was EJ. Yeah, it will always be S them because they weren't worth a damn. Even though Hostile Takeover was kind of like an arranged marriage type of thing, I love that Orion was always like my wife. Like, he my wifed everybody to death. Even though their marriage was basically a business transaction, he was very much, that's my wife. That's my wife. And the FMC's name, well, not her name, but like her nickname was Nala. Like, yes, of course I'm going to love that book. Okay, so loved Hostile Takeover. What else did I read? Okay, I read 2 more books. So I read All He Ever Needed by Tay Monet. So that was actually my first read by Tay Monet. That was also an audiobook. It was really good. Like, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the storyline. And I think it was really, really good. It was, what am I saying? What am I thinking? Oh, I'm like, wait, losing it. Y'all, I just got home from work a little while ago. So if I'm tired, I have 5 meetings today. A girl couldn't catch a break today, okay? So if I'm a little, processing a little bit, just give me a minute. So this is my first book by Tay Monet, and it was really cute. I liked the storyline. It will always be F. I think his name was Silas. I think that was the MMC's name. It will always be F his mama, because she honestly F both of his parents because they did way too much. But that was super cute, and that was a audiobook. And then the last book I read in July was Summer and Dooley by Grace Huffington. 5 stars. 5 across the board. And if you watch my latest reading vlog, you will see my reactions to Summer and Dooley. Hyphen is my girl. I love Hyphen. I love everything she stood for. And I love the message in Summer and Dooley. And I think, too, the message in Summer and Dooley was very much a message to Black women to always put yourself first. Because I feel like a lot of the time we do not do that. We always put everyone else's needs before ours. So being able to put yourself first and not feel ashamed of that, I think was perfect. Like, that was the perfect message and perfect timing for me, because I need to start putting myself first more often. Okay, so those were the 14 books I read in July. Like I said, banger after banger after banger. I loved every single book. I rated them all either 4 or 5 stars. So that was great. And that is my oven, y'all. So give me a second. My chicken is done. I'll be right back. All right, y'all. I'm back. I'm like, while I'm recording this, I'm making my dinner. Like, I have some chicken in the oven. So the timer went off. So I had to go and like flip it. But yes, that was a very chaotic, okay, July reading wrap up. So now we're going to get into my August TBR. So first, I'm going to start with actually the book that I actually just finished it literally before I recorded this video. And that is Finally Famous by Lady Nisha. 5 stars. Like, this is the second book I read by Lady Nisha, and she is hilarious. Like, there's always going to be at least 1 or 2 characters in her books that will make you laugh out loud. And honestly, this was a really great story. So the story is about Rollo, who is a up-and-coming rap star, and kind of just the challenges he has to go through while, dealing with this new era of his life that he's entering. And, he just signed a deal, and he basically finds out the people he thought, were loyal to him aren't. And just the things people do when you start to level up. And that's really what it was about. And the FMC was Taylor, and kind of just her life and the things that she went through, and the crazy exes, and just the loyalty, the disloyalty. It was just such a great read. I enjoy Lady Nisha. I'm actually going to read more of her catalog. So one thing I did realize when I was first reading Finally Famous, I was like, why does this man's name Rollo, like Southwest Raw is his, rap name. I'm like, why does his name sound so familiar? It's because he was mentioned in Losing Control. So if you're going to read Lady Nisha, I would suggest reading in order of like publication date, at least when it comes to Finally Famous and Losing Control. So I would suggest, you don't have to because they're standalone, so it's not really like needed. But if you want to like, be like, oh, I recognize this character from this place, I would definitely suggest reading Finally Famous first, Losing Control. And I think her latest release is Problematic, which I'm probably going to read at some point as well. So I think that's the order I would read it in, because it'll kind of like, it'll make more sense. So yes, Finally Famous, 5 stars, great read. That was an audiobook. And then I'm actually currently reading Tasty by Taheshi B. Williams. I was talking about it in my last reading vlog. I haven't finished it yet. But I plan on finishing it definitely this week. So Tasty will be finished. Tasty is actually a really good book. I like the writing style. I like the storyline. I like the characters. It's actually hilarious to me. And I don't know if the book was intended to be funny, but it's funny to me. Just the banter between the FMC and the MMC is funny. But Tasty is a good read. That'll probably end up being like a 4-star read for me once I finish it. Okay, so that is one book I just finished, another that I'm currently reading. And now we're going to get to the physicals that I want to read for this month. So I have them here. So the first one is Our Vicious Oaths by N.E. Davenport. Okay, so I actually picked this book up a couple months ago and I soft DNF'd it because I just couldn't get into it at the time. And I think the reason why I soft DNF'd it is because this was going to be like, when I picked this up, this was going to be my first fantasy read. And I don't think I was in the headspace for fantasy at the time. Like, I don't think I understood enough to actually understand what was going on in this book. And again, not because of the author or anything. It was literally just me. Like, I was just not in the mood for understanding of fantasy. Because I feel like a lot of times with fantasy, like, there's a lot of world building and you kind of have to be in the headspace for that. I was not in that headspace when I picked this up. So I'm excited to get into it because Black romantasy, yes, we need more of it. So I'm definitely going to read it. I'm excited to get into Our Vicious Oaths. What I did read was good so far. Like, I had no complaints of what I did read. I just don't think I was in the headspace to actually, like, understand what was going on. So I'm excited to get into Our Vicious Oaths. Isn't the cover, like, so pretty? I love it. Okay, and then the next one, this one has been on my TBR for months, honestly, y'all. It's been on my TBR for months, and I still have not read it. But we're going to prioritize it this month for sure. It's going to get read, I promise y'all. It's Judge Stone by Viola Davis and James Patterson. I know you're probably like, girl, you've been talking about this book for forever. You still ain't read that thing? I know. It'll get read, I promise. I have a week off. Not next week. It's the week after. I have a week off. So that is actually probably going to be one of the books I read during that week. I plan on reading a lot during that week off. So Judge Stone is going to be one of the books that I read, and I'm going to do an immersive read because Audible is also having a sale, I think, for the next like week. So y'all will see this. Today's Monday. Y'all see this on Wednesday. So you'll still be able to get the sale. So I'm probably going to buy the audiobook because I think they're having like 85% off all their books, which they do. I feel like a couple times a year they do that sale. So I'm going to get Judge Stone, the audiobook, and do an immersive read with that one. So I'm excited to get into that. And then my last physical is going to be Eternal Ruin by Tigges Girma. Okay, and this is the follow-up to Immortal Dark. So I actually read Immortal Dark back in May. I kind of gave my reactions during my birthday vlog. I'll pin the video so you can go check that out. But yes, I read Immortal Dark, loved it real bad. Honestly, Kiran did not do enough. She did not do enough. And I know some people say she was insufferable. She was this, she was that. My girl didn't do enough. Because if I was her, I would have took it to hell. I really would have. So I'm excited to read Eternal Ruin. I wanted to actually read it as soon as I finished Immortal Dark. But Immortal Dark stressed me out so bad. And I just know this one is going to stress me out. So I needed some time. I needed some time and to mentally prepare myself. So I'm excited to get into this. This one's a thickums. This is a thickums for sure. How many pages is this? Ay, ay, ay. $523 pages. So this is a thickums, but I'm excited to get into Eternal Ruin and read more about Kiran and Yos. Hopefully at some point they will actually become some type of lover because in book one, there was no type of lover. Maybe there was like an ounce of lover, but most of it was enemies. Enemies and like this much amount of lover. So maybe they'll get more lovers in here, but I highly doubt that. They will probably just still be enemies because they can't trust each other. So they really can't. Okay, so those are the 3 physicals I want to read in the month of August. So let me show y'all these 3. Okay, and then my ebooks that I want to read. Let me open up my list. Okay, so first is going to be All In Unfinished Business by Carolyn Kay. This is the second book. I don't want to say follow-up because it's not a follow-up, but it's the second book in the series. The first book was All Mine, and that followed Six and Montana. And in that book, you met Jackie, who was the FMC6's best friend. So this story is going to follow Jackie, Cash, and Cash was also Montana's friend. You also met Cash in All Mine. And then I think we are introduced to another character. I think Cash's cousin. So I'm excited to read All In Unfinished Business. I think she dropped it. Was it yesterday? Yeah, I think she dropped it yesterday. So I plan on reading that this month. Super excited about that. Okay, next is the Catch Me If You Can series. So I've actually been inspired to read this. So Catch Me If You Can is by Christina T. Jones. Y'all know I love CCJ. This is a CCJ like page, okay? Well, not page, but I love CCJ, okay? But my girl Booking It with Star was actually reading it in her last 2 reading vlogs. So she definitely inspired me to read the Catch Me If You Can series. If you haven't, definitely go and check out Booking It with Star. She's amazing. Love her content. But yeah, she inspired me to read the Catch Me If You Can series. And that is a romantic suspense. I think it's 3 books. And CCJ does romantic suspense so well. Like, I read Anonymous Acts by her, and that was amazing. So I know the Catch Me If You Can series is going to be good. Okay, next I have Fast by Millie Belbazar. I think that's how I pronounce her name. If it's not, I apologize. But I'm excited to read Fast. I actually have the audiobook for Fast, but I'm going to do an immersive read with that one. I know a lot of people love Fast, but they say like it's a book they can only read one time just because of what happens in the book. So I have a feeling this book will wreck me. It will wreck me emotionally. And honestly, I need a good cry. I haven't cried in a while, so it's time for a good cry. So I'm excited to get into Fast. Okay, the next 2 on my list are rollovers from July that I did not read. So the first one is Passion Rules Everything by Roxanne Taylor. And this is the second book in the Cash Banks Crew series. The first book was Cash Rules Everything, and that was a great book. And then the second one is Passion Rules Everything, which follows Nairobi and Fontaine. And if you read the first book, you kind of know how Nairobi and Fontaine, like how they kind of ended. So I'm excited to get into Passion Rules Everything. And then the next one is Love in Pursuit by Shay Dawn. Like I said, these 2 are rollovers from July. Love in Pursuit follows Chase and Amaya, who you met in book 1, Love at a Funeral. And it kind of follows their relationship as lawyer and client and kind of how they cross into uncharted territory, honestly. And then the last set of books I have on my list is the Sun series by Ray Lease. So I think is it 8 or 9 books in that series? It's either 8 or 9 books. So I want to go through the rest of Ray's catalog. I have loved so far the 2 MMCs that I've read, Pup and Ace. So I know the rest of her MMCs, I'm probably going to love them as well. So I would definitely want to get through the Sun series and read all of those books as well. So let's count how many books that is for August that I plan on reading. So we have 3 here. 10. And then the Sun series, I think. Hold on, y'all. Oh, the Sun series is only 5 books. I don't know why I thought it was like 8 or 9. It's 5. Okay, so we have 5. Okay, so I have 15 books on my August TBR. Okay, 15 books, and that does not include the one book I finished, Finally Famous, or Tasty that I'm currently reading. So 15 books. We're going to see if I can actually read all those, because I read 14 in July, and I'm going to challenge myself to see if I can beat the July version of myself and read 15 books. And I'm actually going to try to stick to reading the books I actually have on my TBR this month. Like, I'm not going to just pick random books. I'm actually going to read the ones I have. But we will see, because honestly, I could be sitting here lying to y'all right now. I probably am, if I'm being honest. So definitely come back in, sometime in September to see my August reading wrap up to see if I am telling the truth or if I just lied to your face and end up reading some random books. All right, y'all. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you have on your August TBR. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.